In this video, we're going to talk about hemoglobin and also the impact of smoking on the respiratory system. The human respiratory system relies on the circulatory system. To shuttle oxygen and carbon dioxide between the lungs and the body cells. If our blood only had plasma and not red blood cells, this would reduce our ability to transport oxygen. And the reason for that is that oxygen does not readily dissolve in blood plasma, at least not in large quantities. Oxygen gas is therefore carried within the hemoglobin molecules within the red blood cells. And again, this is why we have red blood cells. It's why we need red blood cells. When we look at what's happening in the two regions of gas exchange within our body, in our lungs and in our tissues, let's start with the lungs. Deoxygenated blood has arrived at the lungs. Oxygen gas is able to diffuse into the blood, while carbon dioxide diffuses out of the blood. The oxygen gas is quickly picked up by the hemoglobin molecules within the red blood cells, allowing for further diffusion of oxygen into the plasma. By the time the red blood cells are leaving the lungs, they have picked up their full load of oxygen gas and have dropped off their carbon dioxide. This oxygenated blood is then pumped by the circulatory system to the tissues of the body that are performing cellular respiration. As the blood arrives at these tissues, the oxygen will begin diffusing into the tissues, leaving the blood plasma. This will cause more and more of the hemoglobin within the red blood cells to release the oxygen that they are storing, and that oxygen will continue to travel into the cells. Likewise, the carbon dioxide that had been made by those cells while they were performing cellular respiration, it moves into the bloodstream by way of diffusion. And so by the time those blood cells are leaving the tissues, they will have given off their oxygen and have picked up excess carbon dioxide to repeat the cycle again. A shortage of iron causes a decrease in the rate of synthesis of hemoglobin. Iron deficiency is the most common cause of anemia. The last topic we'll discuss as we talk about our respiratory system is the impact of smoking on the lungs. Every breath you take exposes your respiratory tissues to potentially damaging chemicals. One of the worst sources of these airborne pollutants is tobacco smoke. Now, the actual molecules we're talking about here, these are known as mutagens because they cause mutations, or carcinogens. Because any molecules that cause mutations, if those mutations happen in the genes that control the cell cycle control system, they can also cause cancers. Now, if that was the only negative impact that smoking had on our lungs, it would still be reason enough to avoid exposing our lungs to those materials. However, smoke itself also irritates the cells that line the trachea and bronchi. And here we're talking about any types of smoke, whether it's marijuana, whether it's tobacco, whether it's even excessive campfires or building fires. If the cells of the trachea and bronchi get singed, this inhibits their ability to remove foreign substances from the airways, leading to an increased rate of infection. And so the ability of our lungs to clear particulates and contaminants out of them can be inhibited if smoke is regularly introduced to the respiratory system. Every year, Smoking kills around 440,000 Americans. Many of these smokers die from lung cancer. However, smoking can also cause emphysema. Emphysema is a condition where those alveoli in the lungs become brittle and broken. They no longer expand as they normally would during inhalation and exhalation, and they no longer are able to be areas of gas exchange with the lungs. This can greatly reduce the efficiency of the lungs. Now here we see a pair of lungs and heart removed from an individual after their death. One of these individuals was not a smoker, and so the normal healthy lungs, these are what the lungs should look like. But another individual smoked regularly, and we can see the buildup of that black tarry material within the lungs. Now I can't say for certain that this individual died of lung cancer, but they definitely had lung cancer. These tumors down at the bottom are clear evidence of lung cancer. And while this person was alive, clearly they had reduced lung capacity because of the time they had spent smoking. That takes us to the end of our discussion of the respiratory system. The next organ system that we'll discuss will be the immune system. See you in the next video.